did you see in Leviticus it says you can't get tattoos? How are you going to get salvation through Jesus if you have tattoos?
Unless a command or law is repeated in the New Testament, it is not prescriptive. So it's not telling you can or can't do something. See, so many Christians forget that. They think, Old Testament, it said, don't mix fabrics. So you're mixing some fabrics there, I think, on your shorts. So so Caleb's sinning right now.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so, because mixing fabrics is not in the New Testament. It's not talked about. It's not prescriptively a law in the New Testament. So it's the same with tattoos. But I would even say that tattoos, I don't believe, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't even think that tattoos were necessarily, I don't think the Israelites were not allowed to have tattoos in the sense of ink, because I think it was the prophets of Baal who were cutting themselves that ultimately that is what was spoken against. It was cutting yourself in order to let the blood flow to get the attention of the god Baal. And that was what was spoken against and commanded against. So we don't even know exactly what was meant by tattoos. I don't think it's the same kind of tattoo that we see in our modern day today. But it is such a stretch for Christians. Again, this, just like homosexuality. See, homosexuality, the hatred towards homosexuality that a lot of, I think, fundamentalist Christians make, the hatred and the mistake of it is there is disgust. This word disgust. Disgust. They don't like a man sleeping with a man, a woman sleeping with a woman, because they find it disgusting. And so they elevate it to be a sin that's higher than any heterosexual sin or any other sin other than murder because of disgust. Okay, that's bad. Right. That is wrong, because any Christian could take any sin and say, I'm more disgusted by that, so that's way worse than everything else. No, it's definitely not. And so it's similar with tattoos, because it's like drinking is another one, for example. The fundamentalist church lady is going to say underage drinking is the worst form of sin. Very similar to tattoos. Tattoos would be number 2. So they elevate these things and say, that's a sin. But they don't even have biblical basis for saying tattoos are a sin. They'll just say it shows kind of a punk nature, is what they'll say. Mm-hmm. So they'll try and make it a sin. So there's no biblical basis for a lot of these things. And even when there is biblical basis for some sins, they elevate. Fundamentalist Christians, and when I say fundamentalist, what I mean is fundamentalist, that used to be a good term, which was against theological liberalism. Theological liberalism was stripping the historical evidence behind, say, the cross out of the Bible. And fundamentalism was there to confront liberal theology. But then it got poisoned, the point of what we were talking about earlier with some of these private Christian colleges, which is, I'm just going to judge people for how they do, how they do what they do, and they're not Christian. Her skirt needs to be 5 inches below the kneecap if she's going to heaven. So that's what we see when it comes to tattoos, sadly. I think a lot of the thinking and the feeling of it being a sin is way more cultural and connected to fundamentalist Christianity than anything. Again, going back to the Old Testament, a lot of these were ceremonial cleanliness laws. And so anytime you see things against pork at certain times, or anything of that nature, even mixed clothing, that was actually for the purpose of keeping somebody clean. And so there was health benefits behind it. So it wasn't just totally arbitrary. So that's what you have to think about as well. Dietary ceremonial laws. What are these laws also that are meant to celebrate and elevate God and his worth versus worshiping myself?
Definitely. I think that's where it comes back to the context being so important, because I've made videos talking about, I think it's Leviticus 29 something, and they'll tell you, mark your bodies, but they won't talk about the shaving of your head, the 2 cloths, and the blood in the meat 2 lines before it, directly talking to those people of that were worshiping Baal at the time. So maybe some of you guys will cut me a little bit of slack for my family and faith tattoos,